Hi everyone, welcome to Pipesim Python Toolkit for beginners. In this video we are going to investigate the model using the following methods: model open, close, find all possible components, get value and set value. So I need to select one of the model and investigate it. In Pipesim installation folder, in the case studies, I selected the network models folder, and then I need to pick up one of these models. So I'm going to use this CSN303, and I need to copy the path because it will be used later to open the model. So right mouse button click with shift and then copy as path. If you double click on this model, you will see the following Pipesim model. So it's a network, contains several flow lines, wells, chokes, and everything. I'm going to receive all these objects as a list in the Python Toolkit environment. And I'm going to get some values from this object, of course. So now it's time to move on to the Python Toolkit. And I'm going to use the VS Code for this purpose. And I need to create the new file. So File, New File, and Jupyter Notebook. You need to make sure in the right top corner that the proper Python version is loaded. If you have several versions installed to your machine, just select the one you want to use. In my case, I have the Pipesim 24 installed, so I'm going to use the PTK03.1. First of all, you need to start from the same command, which will be in all your possible examples. We need to load from 6gil package model class. So I will type from 6gil Pipesim import model. And the next line, I'm not going to use it as detail. I'm going just to load everything what we have in the definitions, all possible classes, constants, and everything. So I'm going to go from 6gil definitions, import everything, and enter, shift enter. So we loaded classes. We are ready to work with model. And first, what we need to do is to load selected model. So I will use the model open, and then specify the path to Pipesim model. We have the file name as the input that's necessary, and then of course we can specify some units. By default the units field is used, and another one option I'm not going to cover it right now. So I will type the R, enter the path to Pipesim model, and load the model. When the execution is finished, we will receive the model as the variable model. And I need to check. I see the successful response from the server. I need to check that model was opened properly. The simplest way to do it is to type the model about and get some response from the model element. The model returned the data. And now it's time to investigate it. So first, my attempt to investigate model is to use the find method. I will type the model, then find. And I don't know what to find right now. I'm going to just extract everything what we have inside. So I will use this constant all as a constant context. Find all. And we have the big list of different names. That's the list of the all possible name of the element inside this model. So we can compare it with Pipesim model. So for instance, we have this A1. This is the node or junction. Then A choke 1. This is the name of the choke. Then we have the AFL1, the name of the flow line, and then we have a lot of other things. Okay, we've got the list of all possible elements inside the Pipesim. What if I want to specify exactly what I need to receive? So for example, I want to get the list of all flow lines. Then I need to modify this argument slightly. So the first argument in the find method was context. So the context was all, and the second one is the component. So I just need to pass the component type. For this purpose, I can use the model components class and then select from the list of members flow line. Okay, so we have the flow line, and then we re-enter the same data again, and we have the list of names of all possible flow lines inside this model. So we have the AFL1, A1, and all other things. This is the list of the names. What if we want to get the list of chokes? The same idea, so we say model find all context, and then just filter the response using the model components choke. Okay, let me select choke, shift enter, and then we have the list of chokes inside this model. What if I want to get the list of wells? The same thing, I update this request and use model components well instead of the chokes and get the name of the chokes. Okay, so I can see the list of all possible components, and going through the same approach, I will receive everything what I want. What if I want to get the names of all tubings inside this model? Because tubings are not a part of the network model, they are part of the well model. The approach is the same. We use the model find all, model components. Instead of the well, I'm going to use the model components tubing and then get response of all possible tubings. And now you can compare the response because it's a little bit different. In previous cases, it was list of elements with one name, but here the name of the component is a little bit complex because it contains the name of the well, the delimiter, and the name of the object. A tubing 1, the name of the tubing. Okay, what if I want to get the names for certain wells, not for all? Then it's time to change the context. For this purpose, I'm going to use the model find, and then I need to specify the context. In my case, the context will be well, and then I need to select some well name. For instance, this alpha1, and then I need to say what I'm going to receive. I'm going to get the model components tubing. Okay, it should be component because I use the parameter name explicitly. And here I have the list of the tubings inside this well. So for well alpha1, I requested the list of the tubings and I've got the response. This is the list with one element, alpha A1 tubing. Okay, so using the find method, we can investigate the model and get the list of all possible elements. What if I want to extract the data from this element? Then I can use another one method called getValue. So model getValue, and I need to say what's the context, what's the parameter, and the component. Okay, for the context, I will use the name of the flow line. So for instance, I have this flow line A1. I'm going to use A1. And then the second parameter is the parameter name. For this purpose, we have the parameter classes, parameters, and then we have the different classes inside. I'm going to select the flow line because I'm going to extract the data from the flow line element, flow line, and then dot, and I have the list of all possible parameters for the flow line. And some of them may be not defined because of the selected structure, but I'm going to use the parameter which is obviously defined for the flow lines, the inner diameter. So I type the inner diameter, and then we request the data, and we've got the response, 4.026. Let me check in Pipesim model. What's the diameter? Is the 4.026. Okay, so and you remember that we used default open method without unit specification. It means that field units were used and we have the response in the field units. If you change the units from the field to metric, for instance, the value will be different. And if we want to get this value, we need to convert it manually inside the code, or we need to open the model with proper units by default. By the way, Pipesim Python Toolkit supports only 3 units, so you can open model in field unit, in metric, and in C unit. If you need to use any other units, you need to modify the value itself inside the code. Okay, so the next step, when we get this value, we need to set this value. So let's update. For this purpose, we can use the model set value, and then we want to update the value for flow line A1, then parameters, flow line, inner diameter, and I'm going to change this diameter to 5. Okay, the model was successfully updated. But how can I check this update? I need to save the model first. For this, I can use the model, save, and then I need to specify the path where the model will be saved. Let's use the following: rc temp test model. Okay, the model was updated. I still have the session open. I'm going to the navigation, then go to C drive, temp, and now I have the test model. Let me open this model. And the important thing I need to mention is that model is not updated immediately if you have the model opened in your user interface. So the Python toolkit loads the model from Pipesim file into the memory, then modify this memory example, and if you want to apply, you need to save. So if you want to see the changes, you need to reopen the same model from Pipesim user interface. It won't be updated immediately in the same user interface. The model should be reopened again. Okay, so I've changed the value for A1, and if I double click on A1, I see that inside diameter was changed to 5. That's great. So we've got this value. We successfully updated this value. But the session is still open. I can check it. Yeah. So we type the model about, we see a response. So once you've done with all changes what you want to do with interface, you need to close it. For this purpose, we need to type the model, close, and then close the session. So the session was successfully closed. And if I try to type the same model about, I will get this type error because the model doesn't exist anymore. The session with model was successfully closed. And this is what you need to do at the end of each of your script. Okay, so we successfully read the model, find all elements, find elements with filtering, get some value from the flow line. We can repeat the same for other objects. Of course, we updated the value and the closed session. What else we can do? I want to show you how to open the model with different units, and then another option to get values from the elements. So I'm going to use the same structure. I'm just going to copy this method to open the model, type it here. So I will open the same model, save it as a model variable, but as a second parameter, I'm going to use the units. I will type the units class, and then from the members, I will select not field, I will select the metrics, and open the model. It means that model will be opened with metric units, and we will receive the same value from the elements, but in metric units. So let's see what we can receive from the value from the model CSN303. So instead of the 4 inches, we will get the response in the metric units. We should have the 102 millimeters. So let's see what we have here. The model was successfully opened. And now I'm going to get the value model, get value. Then I'm going to use A1, flow line, parameters, flow line, inner diameter. And I have the response in metric units, 102 millimeters. What if I don't know exactly the parameter? If I want to get everything what we have in the model. For this purpose, you should use the method getValueAs. So let me show you how to do it. Model, getValueAs. And then I need to type the name of the component I want to investigate. So let's do the same for A1 flow line. Enter. And then I have the list of all possible properties defined for this flow line. So for this A1, we have first of all the A1 element, and then we have no XY coordinate, fluid type, then we have the horizontal distance, and a lot of other things. So this request is really useful when you don't know exactly the name of parameter you want to receive, but you know the value. So for instance, you know your measured distance, you don't remember how to type this in Pipesim PTK interface, so you can get all possible values and then use proper command to extract this value from PTK. And then, of course, as usual, I need to close this model, close this session. For this purpose, I may use the model close, and then session will be closed properly.